Be careful what you wish for. It's a phrase you hear an awful lot in football. You wouldn't actually hear it, I don't think, in any other walk of life. Not in any other walk of life would somebody who maybe was in an industry tell somebody else who was lower down in an industry, you be careful what you wish for. Because actually, you know, sort of wishing is hope, isn't it? Hope gives you the opportunity to dream that little bit bigger, that hope that things will get better, hope that things will get bigger. And anybody that tells you be careful what you wish for is sort of trying to trample on those dreams. They're trampling on ambition. It's a roadblock of a statement, really, isn't it? And I can't think of too many other instances where you would hear that. Yet it's prevalent in football. Yesterday's main protagonist of that was Chris Sutton, but there are lots of them. You've only got to trawl through the mainstream media to find these people, particularly pundits, who are telling condescending and patronising West Ham fans, you be careful what you wish for. Don't you dare to dream. Don't you dare to hope. We know better than you, so you stick with what you've got. Now, unfortunately for all of these pundits, they don't know anything. They have this generalised overview of West Ham. When actually, I would like to think when confronted with the statistics and when confronted with the reasoning that West Ham might dare to dream, maybe, just maybe, they would stop condescending and stop patronising West Ham fans. I don't know whether that's the truth or not. I really don't. But I do find it odd. I find it really odd, off the back of yesterday's press conference with David Moyes, that he didn't face proper counter-questioning from the mainstream media. I find it really, really interesting that they would side with him and patronise and condescend thousands, tens of thousands. How many people turned up, by the way, for the trophy parade after Prague? Well, did they say there were 500,000 West Ham fans on the street? I don't know whether that was right or not, but I think there's quite a few 100,000 West Ham fans. We have the second highest attendance in the Premier League. So I'm just saying, if you're Talk Sport or you're Sky Sports, there are hundreds of thousands of potential customers who you're basically saying you're wrong. You're delusional. We get called it delusional. I'm not making up that word. West Ham fans get called delusional. You're delusional. And this guy, David Moyes, is right. He knows better than you. We know better than you. Get back in your place and stop dreaming. No wonder, honestly, no wonder in their droves people are switching off the social media and listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, not social media, sorry, mainstream media, watching podcasts, watching YouTube, that sort of thing, because at least you're hopefully going to find somebody who's going to at least give everybody a voice, where everybody can leave their comments, where everybody gets listened to, rather than this. Do you know what the odd thing is with David Moyes, by the way, is that he's actually quite mean, he's actually quite nasty to these journalists. He really is. I mean, not just at West Ham, I mean, he's got history of it. David Moyes, to the journalist, I'm not going to go with this whole thing about David Moyes as a narcissist and all the rest of it. I'm not qualified to give a medical term for it. I don't know. He's probably not that, but he is a bit of a bully with journalists. He really is. So I find it really weird that these journalists would basically stick up for this guy who's pretty mean to them and at the same time alienate thousands and thousands and thousands of potential customers. Hey, anyway, that's what they do. But I've never read so many comments in the YouTube comments. And there's been thousands of YouTube comments this week, and I thank you very much for leaving them. I've never read so many people say, I'm not listening to TalkSport again. I'm not watching Sky Sports. There's a reason people switch off at half-time and at full-time. I won't listen to their nonsense. And that's why. Anyway, look. I digress. Let me just get back onto what David Moyes has said after this game, because actually, whilst the West Ham fans might get accused of being delusional, actually I think David Moyes is a little bit delusional. Let me just tell you, I might have to switch my glasses. Oh no, I don't. I've got my readers on. Let me just tell you what David Moyes said. I'll give you, he said a lot of stuff after this performance. I understand he wants to come out fighting. I understand he wants to back himself. But I tell you what, a little bit of humility would also go a long way, because it's never, ever this guy's fault. And this is a man who constantly reminds us of what we should be grateful for and reminds us about the win in Prague. It's odd. It's really, really weird. I don't know why he feels the need to constantly remind us about Prague like we don't know. Oh, we absolutely do. And it's, honestly, it just smacks of somebody who every time they make a mistake constantly reminded you of the thing that they got right. And I know it's not just that singular thing. I know David Moyes has had a really good run over the last 3 or 4 years. However, However, there's context to all of this. There's context. It was a couple of seasons ago, we had the second highest spend in the Premier League, didn't we? And basically, over the last 5 years, we have the seventh highest spend in the Premier League. I think when the media look at West Ham, they look at old West Ham. They really do. Not much money to spend. I guess Upton Park wasn't. We loved Upton Park, but whatever. It wasn't in the maybe the top 10 highest attendances in the league. We certainly wasn't the second biggest stadium. Things are different now. Things are very, very different. We haven't even just got one billionaire owner. We've got three of them, right? Anyway, we'll get to them. That's a separate video, by the way. Is what David Moyes had to say. Sorry, I digress. Actually, before I get to what David Moyes got to say, can I please prompt you and please with you, if you like, to download the Match Bingo app. We got a really big thing for you coming up next week. It's next weekend, isn't it? I think I'm playing Brentford on a Monday. Match Bingo, the game against Brentford, is the free game to play on Match Bingo. Now, you need to download the app by using the link below. It is a betting app, so it's 18 years and over. But all we're asking you to do is go and play the free-to-play game. At the point where you sign up, you go and basically activate your card, which is like a bingo card, but rather than having numbers on it, there's things that happen during the game, like throw-ins, hitting the post, goal kicks, goals, cards, all that sort of thing. I'll tell you what, if you had cards for the previous game, then you would have been doing all right. But it's free to play. There's a £175 prize pot. Every time you get a line, you're a winner. You just go in, claim your prize. We've already had 2 West Ham winners from Hammers Chat winners actually already on it. It's really good. There are pay to play games on there, so you can actually bet on all the Premier League fixtures. They're £2. It's capped. £2 per game, but the one we're asking you to play is West Ham Brentford next week. That's the free-to-play game, Match Bingo. Links in the description below. Go and download the app. If you don't like it, you can just uninstall it. Go and give it a go. You might win yourself some money. Now, let's get to what David Moyes had to say. David Moyes said, I thought the players responded incredibly well. He's talking about Nottingham Forest here. They showed character. They showed a lot of courage at different times in the game. It was a tight Premier League game. We played well going through the final thirds. But I thought the players did a great job. He's full of crap. I haven't even read all of it. I can't read all of it. There's too much to pick apart. So I thought the players responded incredibly well. They really didn't. The players hid. You could tell at the start of that game, you could always tell nobody demanded the ball. There was no pass and move. It was pass and stand still. Nobody wanted the ball. They went into hiding. We got bullied. They lacked belief. The players lacked desire. They certainly had no belief. I said before, David Moyes got 2 things to do. He's got to basically cajole them and use his man management skills to get them up for the game, and he's basically got to come up with a tactical plan. I said yesterday he did neither. Those were not players who responded incredibly well. Those were scared players. That's why the discipline went. It's always the same. You can tell it, honestly, instantly. The reason our discipline went was because they were scared. They wanted an out. They didn't respond. And as I've said before, for pretty much the last 2 years, if you're a regular watcher on this channel, when people have said David Moyes has lost the dressing room, I've said no, I don't think he has. I've always pointed to 5 or 6 players who were continually playing for West Ham. I didn't feel that was the case yesterday. I really, really didn't. So I just feel that his observation that the players have responded well was not accurate. Far from it, actually. He said they showed character. They really didn't. They did not show character at all. There was one point where quite possibly Kurt Zouma tried to sort of plead and maybe argue his case with the referee. It was few and far between. We've been waiting for a long time for Zouma to do that. Zouma is not a leader. He is not a leader. And that's one of David Moyes' derelictions of duty that he has not replaced. He's lost successive captains in Mark Noble and Declan Rice. He has not replaced them. Kurt Zouma may well be a friendly, happy guy in the dressing room. He is not a leader. He is not a leader out on the pitch. You know leaders, you recognise them instantly when you see him out on the pitch. He is not one of them. They said a lot of courage at different times during the game. They didn't. They went into hiding. It was a really limp performance. There was no courage. West Ham were completely and utterly bullied. I would go as far as to say West Ham were a soft touch. It was the complete opposite of courage. It was a really, really bad performance. We were lucky to get away with 2-0, quite frankly. Really, really lucky. He said we played well going through the thirds. We didn't. We didn't. Our wingers were completely dominated by their fullbacks. completely. Both Bowen and Kudus were dominated, okay? I'll tell you how bad we were in the wing. The one time we looked like we might be doing something in a wide position was actually when Naifur Gerd, who, by the way, had been responsible for 2 goals, went and played at left-back for a little bit. Our centre-back looked our best threat down the wing. That's how bad it was. But you start saying this. I'd love to see the pundits answer this. I know, mate. Anyway, I understand he can't come out publicly and criticise the players. I'm not asking him to come out and criticise them. But for him to say exactly the opposite of what happened, it shows that he's a little bit delusional. Here's the thing that probably wound me up most, basically, was when he turned around and said, we're missing Lucas Paquetá. We're missing Lucas Paquetá, whatever you want to call him. Yes, absolutely. Then it begs the question, bearing in mind you've got an injury-prone playmaker who your system is based around, why did we not buy a replacement? Why have we got no backup? But you have admitted with that important. I think at the moment in the new year, so in 2024, we're 19th in the league. In 2024, we're 19th. That form table from then. The reason being is David Moyes is saying, look, David Moyes isn't admitting that we're down here. That's just where we are. Those are the facts and those are the stats. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Chris Sutton, basically. That's where we are, right? We have, in our last 3 games, conceded 11 goals. We've scored none. We can't score from open play because it's hinged around this one player. A player, I hasten to add, David Moyes was rumoured to didn't even want. Let me just say that, okay? We weren't even meant to be getting him. You know this. Follow it back. He was third choice. He was third choice. Anyway, sorry, I digress a little bit then. What we got is a situation where the manager has identified that we are not scoring goals because we are missing one player, the creative player, the playmaker. We've just had January. And what you have now is a situation where, leaking to the press, the ownership are saying, we offered David Moyes lots of players, he didn't want to take any. Now, at best, that is right. At best, I don't know. At worst, it's true. At best, you have a situation where the ownership of the football club are blaming the manager for basically how thin the squad is. Is that a good situation, Chris Sutton? They don't, the fans get a lot of blame for a lot of this. We really are for being deluded and whatnot. There's no substitute playmaker. We did not sign anybody. Well, we did. We signed a defensive midfielder in Calvin Phillips. We sold 2 creative players inside Ben Rama and Pablo Fornals and brought nobody in. No attacking player at all. So when Paquetá isn't around, West Ham stop playing. We stopped winning. We stopped scoring. There's nothing new here, by the way. It's not like, oh, hold on, we've got to the end of this season, we found out he's injured. But he's injured, remember, he kept on falling over and hurting his collarbone and being out last season as well. And by the way, I hasten to add, he was injured. He was still injured while the transfer window was open. So David Moyes is saying, we can't play without Paquetá. But what did you do about it? What about maybe one of the youngsters? We've actually got someone in the academy. We won the FA Youth Cup last season. Really magical player. Really, really good. To be fair, I wouldn't be throwing him in there yet. But we do have a number 10. In fact, we've got 2 really creative players. One of them is George Urphy and the other one is Dan Rigg. If you want someone to play number 10, those 2 guys can possibly do it. If that makes that much of a difference, because they don't have a pass. There's no defence-splitting pass. They can't see the pass. James Ward-Prowse, Thomas Souček, Calvin Phillips, Edson Alvarez. I've got a lot of love for Edson Alvarez, but he is a stopper. There's a reason that when we went down to 10 men, he went back to centre-back. That's what he used to be. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the number 10 that can carve the team open. Don't want it. Didn't do it. Mate, honestly, we didn't even make a bid for one. We know who we made a bid for. We made a bid for Ibrahim Osman, who was a left winger. As it turned out, we negotiated with the wrong agent, pulled the plug on the deal, and Brighton have ended up getting him. That's the club we're dealing with at the moment. So West Ham fans, maybe we are. Maybe you can call us delusional. I don't think we are. I think we've got a more intrinsic, more detailed knowledge of the club than Chris Sutton or any of the other pundits who condescendingly wag their finger, as we say. Rio Ferdinand was at it the other day. West Ham fans, what do you want? But we've got something here. We've really seen the narrative change, haven't we? The last 2 or 3 weeks. West Ham fans, you're 6th. And you won a trophy. What more do you want? Oh, West Ham fans, you're 7th and you won a trophy. What do you want? West Ham fans, you're 8th. Now West Ham fans, you're 9th. Where are we going to be next week? I don't know. I really don't know. We might be better. But if we're better, it won't be... David Moyes is basically saying that the tactical plan doesn't work. If we do get better and we do win, it'll be because Lucas Paquetá. West Ham are at the moment in a 61,000? Or 62,000. We want to increase it to 67,000. This is the problem that West Ham have got. So they want more season ticket holders, not less. I'll tell you what's happening at the moment. We're going to get less. We're going to get less because fans cannot turn up for constant drubbings and no goals. That is what's happening. David Moyes a couple of days ago said he did play entertaining football. Well, maybe if you're in the opposition, it's entertaining. Maybe if you're watching your opposition fan, you're watching people like me having a meltdown on YouTube, it's probably entertaining. It's not entertaining for West Ham fans. It's really not. Particularly when what did he say? You know, West Ham have had many managers, but the one sitting here wins more than most. You can say that. You could probably, the time to say that might be Prague. The time to say that is not when we're bottom of the form league. And it's the start. It's not. We're not talking about this 2 weeks into January. We're getting towards the end of February now. We can't buy a win. We can't buy a goal. Even the stuff that we're meant to be good at, set pieces, we can't do. Can't do them. Can't score them. Can't defend them. West Ham got major problems. We've got a manager in place who's, according to the ownership, has rejected all offers of players to sign in January, and the January transfer window, apart from one which was Calvin Phillips. And I don't want to dig him out, I really don't, but he's not worked out well. It does not look good. I think when things do not look good, show a little bit of humility. Maybe keep your head down a little bit. And come out wagging your finger at the fans, tell them how good you are, tell them you're a winner, David Moyes telling us that he plays entertaining football. He doesn't get to decide that. It's like someone telling you that they're funny. They don't get to decide. You get to decide whether you laugh at them or not. It's like someone can't tell you that they're kind. Only you can decide if someone's kind. David Moyes doesn't get to tell us that he plays entertaining football. It pains me to say it. Tottenham play entertaining football. They do. And who decides? Not Ange Postecoglou. He wouldn't dare. He's a humble guy. So he'd say, "Oh, look, he'd say, listen, mate, I'm just doing my job." That's the sort of stuff he'd say. "Hey, look, I'm just doing my job, mate. Hopefully the fans are enjoying whatever." But he doesn't need to. The fans decide. And at the moment, I'm afraid, for David Moyes and his cronies, the fans aren't happy. Maybe he'll turn it around. Maybe he won't. But to suggest that West Ham fans have got invalid opinions, that we're delusional, that we should be careful. Be careful what you hope. Don't dream. Don't hope for better. You lot be careful. Be grateful for what you got. From David Moyes' cronies in the media. I don't like it at all.